So hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 3 of our Reviving Manor Racing series here on F1 23. Now, if you didn't watch the last episode, go back and watch that because it was a cracking Grand Prix in Australia. And spoiler alert, due to a lot of luck, we managed to score our first points as a Manor Racing team. We got 4 points for Manor Racing. We've actually scored more points than George Russell so far this season in the Mercedes. That's a feather in the cap that we're very happy to have. Now, just to put you in the perspective, Max Verstappen is leading, Charles Leclerc is in P2 and Sergio Perez in P3. Rivals-wise, we've just been asked to choose our rival for the first part of this season. Now, we know Alpha Tauri are pretty close to us in terms of performance, so what we've done is chosen Yuki Tsunoda, a very good driver, obviously got a new teammate in real life of Danny Ricciardo to battle with now, but he's going to be battling with us in the rivalry on track. A little look at the R&D as well. We have made progress. We have now jumped Alfa Romeo Sauber on the performance chart. McLaren are the big movers though in terms of performance. They're now up to the 5th bestest team. 5th fastest behind Aston Martin. Red Bull still very comfortably leading the way. We are continuing with the upgrades, and we also have, in terms of the facilities, just put the fabrication, increase the fabrication, use a 2.5 million that's cost us to improve the chassis department, so we hope to see the benefits there very, very shortly. And this weekend we head to Baku. Now, Baku is one of my favourite circuits in real life. I'm really looking forward to driving around here, and it'll be interesting to see if we can score some more points here in Azerbaijan. I'm going to get through practicing qualifying, and we'll see you on the grid for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And so we come to the end of qualifying, and this is a sprint weekend here in Baku, and we have managed to get a stonking lap in. We were stone dead last. Ollie Caldwell were a 10th up on us on our first lap, but we put in a fantastic second lap to get up to P12. Yuki Tsunoda just behind us, around 1/10 behind us there in P13. Unlucky for some, Max Verstappen all the way down in P6. Carlos Sainz takes pole position for tomorrow's sprint weekend. Let's get to the grid for the sprint race. Right then, guys, you join us on the grid, and we're just having a little look at the strategy options. We are going to start on the soft compound tyre. I am a little bit nervous about how quickly these will start to wear out, but it'll be a good gauge for tomorrow's race as well. So we're starting on the soft compound. Let's see what we can do here. Can we get in the top 10 for tomorrow's race? That would be absolutely amazing. So here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. First sprint race of the season in Baku. It is Carlos Sainz on pole. Lewis Hamilton's in second and Charles Leclerc is third. We're going to take straight away right on board with us all the way down in P12 as we're 3 wide into the first corner. And there's a little bit of contact there. Ocon is in P11. We're back up now into P11. And as we go around this second corner, we get pinched a little bit. There's a little bit of banging tyres, but we maintain P11. Ocon is behind us. Meanwhile, at the front, Sainz is still leading, but Charles Leclerc has got Hamilton off the start. It's Ferrari 1-2 here in Baku. Hamilton in P3, Lando Norris in P4, just like he was in the Great British Grand Prix. Fantastic start from him. Perez down in P5, Alonso P6, Max Verstappen all the way down in P7. But it's not been a bad start for us in P11. Looking good at this moment in time. Our teammate Ollie Caldwell all the way down in P22. Last place for Ollie Caldwell. Just coming to the end of lap 1, we can see Sergio Perez attacking Lando Norris. That straight line speed of the Red Bull, getting past the McLaren of Lando Norris, but Lando Norris keeps his nose in there and he's not letting Sergio Perez pass without a fight. We're now back on board with Norris. Perez manages to get through and Norris a little bit compromised there, doesn't get the best exit, and Perez is up into P4. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen still looking at the back of Fernando Alonso, who is now having a look at Lando Norris. This could be a bad couple of laps for Lando Norris if Fernando Alonso can get past him. It looks like Alonso's going to have the inside line into the next corner. Lando Norris dropping a couple of positions early on lap 2. Meanwhile, we're looking at the bike of George Russell at this moment in time. We can't quite keep pace with the man who, remember, we're in front of in the driver's standings. We run a little bit wide into that corner, and it's not been the easiest of starts for us here in this Manor Racing car. Russell is occupying P10 at this moment. Ocon in P12, Albon in P13. And as that was happening up front, we can see Alexander Albon getting past us down the start-finish straight. We have really been struggling on the tyres towards the end of this sprint race. And Alexander Albon looks like he's got the pace at the moment. He's now up into P11, but behind us, there's a real battle going on for P13, of which Yuki Tsunoda is currently occupying that position. I think we may just have enough to keep our rival, remember, at bay. But look at that gaggle of cars behind us. Yuki Tsunoda now in P13 chasing us down. We're now trying to latch onto the back of Alex Albon with the DRS. Hopefully that'll help us out around here. Magnussen and Hülkenberg, the two Haas cars, battling it out. We're seeing in this sprint race a lot of inter-team battles, but at the moment we are managing to hold on to the Williams of Alexander Albon. Remember, the quicker car than us, and to be fair, if we can get P12, I would be particularly happy with that. Lap 5. And as we come on to lap 6, the battle for P2 is really hotting up. We can see Lewis Hamilton on those soft compounded tyre. Carlos Sainz actually on the mediums, as is Charles Leclerc. The mediums maybe were the way to go. He overtakes Hamilton now. Perez down in P4. Will there be any more action on this DRS straight? Hamilton's got DRS, as has Sergio Perez, who is looking left and right at the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton. Can he make a move into this corner? It doesn't look like he can. Meanwhile, all this is happening. It will switch back to our point of view, because we are 0.6 of a second behind Alexander Albon, holding on to the DRS, and that is allowing us to keep Yuki Tsunoda at bay, which is very, very important on this final lap. If we can beat Yuki Tsunoda, that's a big plus for us. We do go a little bit wider there. Albon gets a much better exit, but we are really struggling on these tyres, and we have got tyre wear upgrades coming for the next race at Imola. So very important these tyre upgrades come onto this car, because as you can see, we are just not getting the exits which Alexander Albon is getting, and Yuki Tsunoda is getting ever closer to the back of us at this moment in time. We've got a little bit more, we've got another sector really to negotiate as we go through the castle section. It's a really technical, twisty section. We try to take a wider entry into that corner so we can get the power down as we ride on board in our cockpit view now through this windy straight. Is that a thing? As we brake hard here down to third gear. Miss that curb, because if you hit that curb, there's a big chance of going into that wall. And I reckon we may just have enough to hold Yuki Tsunoda off as we come out of this final corner. But we have a big moment, and that will allow Yuki Tsunoda to have a look at the back of us. It's going to be a race to the finish now, a sprint to the line as Yuki Tsunoda is looking left and right. We are deploying all the ERS we possibly can, and will we manage to keep hold of P12 Yuki Tsunoda? It's going to be an absolute photo finish, but we do just about manage to keep on to P12. Charles Leclerc wins the sprint race from Carlos Sainz. Hamilton in P3, Perez P4, Verstappen managed to get Alonso, P5 for him, Alonso P6, Russell 7th, Norris 7th, Russell 8th, Stroll 9th, and Pierre Gasly in P10.
Welcome to you from Azadlik Square, heart of Baku, and home, of course, to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. With high speeds, tight corners, and few runoff zones, many are expecting a safety car here today. So our drivers will have to stay very much on their toes, and hopefully out of the barriers. It's 3.7 miles around a lap of Baku's city circuit, 7 rights and 13 lefts, giving us a total of 20 corners. Watch out for a safety car today. Incidents are already common on this circuit, and the wet conditions will only make things worse, particularly through the incredibly narrow turn 8. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Perez, Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, Norris, Russell, Stroll, Gasly, Albon, Lewis, Tsunoda, Hülkenberg, Ocon, Magnussen, Oscar Piastri, Bottas, Joe, Sargent, Ollie Caldwell, and Nick De Vries. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Well, it's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth. Anthony Davidson could be a wet one today. Great to...
Right, guys, so you join us on a very wet grid here in Azerbaijan. Now, we are going to go for the intermediates. Whether the one stop will work, I'm not too sure. We may box around lap 9 for some fresh inters, depending on what happens. I'm expecting a safety car possibly around here this afternoon. And maybe it'll dry up, maybe we'll get to slicks at some point, but we'll have to just be adaptable in terms of what we do. But yeah, P12, not the worst starting position in the world. We are ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. We can see the points in front of us. Let's get to 5 red lights and see if we can do something here in Baku. So here we go then, a very wet and horrible Grand Prix here in store in Baku. Can we make any positions up off the start? Leclerc gets a decent start, as does the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz actually gets a better start than his teammate, but Charles Leclerc tries to cover him off. He can't quite do it, and Carlos Sainz is up into P1, Verstappen into P3. As we look further back, Verstappen and Perez still staying in formation. Norris in P6, Alonso P7, Russell, Stroll, Albon. We're going to now ride on board with us as we are getting a better exit than Lance Stroll. And can we make a move up the outside here early doors? And we did get a better start than Pierre Gasly up into P10. We don't quite manage it, but it's a horrible. If we just look from the cockpit view here, we're looking left and right, but my word, this weather is absolutely atrocious, and it must be said we are struggling a little bit here just to get used to the traction, get used to these braking zones. Meanwhile, at the back, there's a lot of movement. If we just switch back to the TV camera, Magnussen is into P15 just behind his teammate Nico Hülkenberg. Ocon will be disappointed down in P16. Then comes Bottas, Piastri and Sargent. Ollie Caldwell will ride on board with Ollie Caldwell down in P21. It's not been the best first few races for Ollie Caldwell, as we would expect from the young rookie driver. We're both rookie drivers in this team, but he's doing okay at the moment. He's currently battling it out with Zhou Guanyu and Nick De Vries. But as we come towards the castle section and towards the end of the lap, Charles Leclerc is leading from Carlos Sainz, Hamilton in P3. You join us back on lap 2, where we've got a charging Yuki Tsunoda behind us, and we can see him in his mirrors. We did have a little tap of the wall as well, no damage, but Yuki Tsunoda has managed to get the overtake done into turn 1, and Yuki Tsunoda now up into P12 will ride on board with us to see if we can make a move here. We really can't. We brake early, try to get the better exit. We have a little bit of the tap of Yuki Tsunoda as well, but Yuki Tsunoda manages to hold on our rival up into P12. And you join us coming to the end of lap 4. We're trying absolutely everything to get quick in these conditions, but we're really struggling, and Nico Hülkenberg is the next car to pass us in the Haas. Disappointing for us, but we do think we've got some pace. We are getting used to the conditions now, as we see Nico Hülkenberg having a bit of a moment. It's not just us, it must be said, who are struggling with the conditions as we brake a bit late. There's a little love tap there on the back of the Haas of Nico Hülkenberg, but we're doing our absolute utmost, and what it has done is brought the back of the pack all together as we're looking left and right. So is Kevin Magnussen on us. We're having to brake earlier than Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hülkenberg. We tried to have a look down the outside into this next corner, can't quite get it done, but we're now settled into P14. We're absolutely praying for some dry weather, and it must be said, it's been on the radio, Mark's been on the radio, we are expecting it to dry up a little bit later on. So once we go into the dry tyres, I'll be feeling a lot more confident. Lap 4, we'll just have a little check. Back of the cars in front, we've got Leclerc in at P1, then Sainz is still there. It's two Ferraris leading this Grand Prix. Hamilton in P3, Verstappen and Perez chasing down the British driver. Then there's a little bit of a gap to Lando Norris in P6, Russell P7 battling with Alonso, Albon's a little bit further back in P9, then comes Stroll before our little gaggle of cars in 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th, lap 4. And you join us on lap 7. Just coming on to lap 8, as you can see, Gasly and Alonso battling it out. Gasly's got the inside line into turn 1, and Fernando Alonso dropping out of the points in the Aston Martin. Albon is up to P8, and this squabbling going on behind him is helping him pull out a little bit of a gap to Lance Stroll and his teammate Fernando Alonso. So Alexander Albon doing particularly well in the Williams, just like he has been doing in real life. Lando Norris looking pretty in at P7, used to these wet conditions, being a British driver, as is George Russell in P6. We are still battling it out with Nico Hülkenberg. We believe we've got a bit of pace on Nico Hülkenberg, but at this moment in time, we just can't seem to get past the Hulk, and it's just backing us up. There very much is two races going on in this Grand Prix. There's the front pack and then very much this back pack as well. But we're in P14. We're not too upset with this at the moment. Like I said, we are struggling with the conditions, but it's still a decent result at this moment in time. Ollie Caldwell, however, is having a bad day at the office. He's running down in P21, and he's only really got Nick De Vries for company, and he's got a long way to go before he can catch Logan Sargent in front. 2.4 seconds the gap between Ollie Caldwell and Logan Sargent. Lap 10, and you ride on board with us because we have just had a bad exit, and now we've got Magnussen and Esteban Ocon both looking to attack us. Ocon's down the right-hand side of us. We brake early, and we are just losing as the tyres are dying off now as well. The track's drying up a little bit. The tyres are dying off. We're struggling for grip, and it's really showing at the moment. We don't have the confidence in the car. We don't have the confidence on the brakes, and it's causing us all sorts of problems as we now drop down to P16. But we are going to have a little look back at Esteban Ocon as we ride on board. Can we make a move? We don't. We brake early, trying to get a better exit. And we're braking early because we're not comfortable on the tyres, but we're going to try and move around the outside here. Can we get a move done on Esteban Ocon? I believe we can, and that is a fantastic move around the outside. That's possibly our best move of the season, I would suggest. In these conditions, round the outside of Esteban Ocon, we're back up into P15, and we can once again chase after the two Hassers in front of us. Lap 11. You join us back on lap 12, and we've decided that it is time to come in for the medium compounder tyre. We've had Mark on the radio. DRS has been enabled as well. We reckon it's now the right time. We're not going to go on to the softs. We know how we struggled with the softs on the sprint race, especially for this distance. So we're going on to the mediums, a little bit more durable. And just look at that front left. We are having a slow pit stop. It's not been our weekend so far here in Baku as we come back out of the pit lane. And it's a very disappointing pit stop. We're down into P20, and we've got Valtteri Bottas in front of us now, and Guan Yu Zhou. Ollie Caldwell still out on the intermediate tyres, but if we just have a look back at the front, we have got Carlos Sainz. He's on the medium compounder tyre. He's pit. Lance Stroll is still on the inters. We've got a few different strategies here. Some going longer on the inters, some going onto the mediums. We can see Hamilton is on the medium compounder tyre, so Sainz has still got track position on him. But one man who has benefited is Charles Leclerc. He's got a lovely gap to himself and Sainz and Hamilton now. So Charles Leclerc looking odds on to win this Grand Prix. Verstappen and Perez in the two Red Bulls. Let's have a look at their pictures yet. Intermediates for both Red Bulls, so I'm assuming they're going to be pitting very shortly, lap 13. And you join us coming on to the final lap of the Grand Prix. We are looking at the back of Alexander Albon, but he's on the softer compounder tyre and he's making use of him. He's been very quick all weekend, Alexander Albon. So if we can just use him now to fend off Pierre Gasly and Lance Stroll, we'll be pretty happy with that. We can see Yuki Tsunoda down in P17 as well. So we're beating his rival. Look, we're not going to get points today. We've been a lot better since we've gone onto the dry compound. We feel a lot more confident in the car, and it's working an absolute treat for us. But it looks like Alexander Albon is disappearing up the road from us. But we can have a look at the race leader, and that race leader is Charles Leclerc, who's now coming round the final few corners on this. He's raced brilliantly today. Ferrari have got the strategy pretty much bang on all weekend. Not something that you normally say in real life, but Charles Leclerc is going to come across the line to win the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton in P2, fantastic work from him, unless Carlos Sainz, who we're going to ride on board with now, can get the move done before the line. He can't. Lewis Hamilton gets the P2, Carlos Sainz P3, Verstappen 4th. But we just go back on view to our point of view, and on P13, are we going to be able to hold out on Pierre Gasly? Can we get a decent exit on this last corner? It's not the worst one in the world as we try and get the power down just to avoid Pierre Gasly. It's not been a bad performance. Ollie Caldwell's all the way down in P21. He's going to finish dead last. We've got to have a look at the strategy and why we decided to keep Ollie Caldwell out on the intermediates for so long. It's not helped his race at all. He's actually going to finish nearly 8 seconds behind Logan Sargent in P20. But P13 will take that all day long, and we've held off Pierre Gasly. Let's get to the podium.
Here come our winners now. A thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again.
So two Ferraris on the podium and Lewis Hamilton there as well. Not a good day for Red Bull and the championship leader Max Verstappen, but a very good day for Scuderia Ferrari. And to be fair, I'm sure that will be celebrated all around Italy, that Grand Prix. That is a fantastic result for Leclerc and Sainz, and Hamilton doing very, very well. British driver in the rain, as you would expect, doing very, very well. Let's have a look at the final classification now. And so there we have it then. Charles Leclerc wins the race from Lewis Hamilton. Carlos Sainz in P3. Verstappen and Russell P4 and 5. That little bit about George Russell and us being ahead of him in the championship, he soon put that to bed. Perez P6, Norris P7, Alonso P8, Ocon 9th, and Hulkenberg 10th. We finished just in front of Pierre Gasly in P13 and very much just in front. And Ollie Caldwell stayed out long on inters and ended up being dead last. Not the greatest day for Manor Racing. If we have a look at the results for the weekend, Leclerc gets 33 points, Hamilton 24, and Carlos Sainz gets 22. Max Verstappen just the 17 points, which means in the standings, Charles Leclerc takes the lead of the Drivers' Championship here. Max Verstappen's in P2. Lewis Hamilton, could he get his 8th career title here on this season? Constructors standings wise, we see Red Bull are still top, Ferrari P2, Mercedes in P3. We remain ahead of Haas, but behind Williams in P8. I hope you've enjoyed that one. We weren't quick in the rain, it must be said. We are going to continue working on it and keep developing the car, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Ta-ra!